dissemination. Okay? Publication is the formal process of sharing your research findings with your community in our own context. That's a scientific community. Usually this is done through peer-reviewed journals, conference proceedings, and so on. Dissemination, on the other hand, is a different kettle of fish. It goes beyond just sharing research findings. It's about sharing your work more broadly with your colleagues, policymakers, students, even the general public. Now, why does this matter? It matters because research that isn't shared has limited impact, and it risks remaining stuck somewhere, locked up in a cupboard or a drawer. And findings that get locked away in your dissertation cannot influence clinical practice or guide new research in any way. So by publishing and sharing widely, we give our work life beyond just the usual examination process or the examination hall. Now we have an ethical responsibility here. As researchers, we owe it to our colleagues, our fellow participants, and in some cases, our funders, to make our findings available. Every data set, every observation we make represents trusts and efforts. And that trust is only honored when our results are shared responsibly and transparently. Traditionally, back in the day, success in academia was measured by how much you have published. There's an old mantra, publish or perish. Some of you may be familiar with it. And I grew up with that culture. I grew up with that mindset, either you publish or you perish. You will not get promoted to whatever your ambitions are pushing you towards. And with hindsight, I could have been a bit more focused and targeted. Because today it's not just about publishing, okay? It's about being visible. Visibility means that your work is read, cited, very important, and discussed, and possibly used. It's about impact beyond numbers, guiding policy, and leading to new research. Honestly, I'm still learning to adapt to the new reality. And one of the reasons I decided to give my inaugural lecture recently was to make my work a bit more visible and accessible. So in today's research landscape, visibility is key and it drives impact. Researchers when we fail to share our findings or promote our findings, we risk being overlooked, no matter how important or valuable the work may be. So the mantra seems to have changed from publish or perish to be visible or simply vanish or disappear. That journey for visibility begins with, of course, transforming your dissertation into something that's publishable. I believe, sorry if I may digress, I should have asked this earlier. I believe majority of this audience is resident doctors. Am I correct? Dr. Namani? Hello?
Yes, Prof.
Yes.
Majority of the audience are residents, I guess.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, thank you. So, as I was saying before I digressed, our journey for making our work visible starts with the dissertation in itself. So let's move to the next slide, the next section. Moving from your dissertation to a journal article requires a complete shift in mindsets because the two are written for different audiences. A dissertation is primarily written for your examiners. It's there to demonstrate that you have mastery of the subject matter. You know the literature, you can apply research methods rigorously. And that's why you see that dissertations are long, detailed, heavily referenced. But a journal article is written for a wider research community, people who are very busy and want to grasp your core message immediately. They are not judging your ability to earn a degree. You're not there to justify yourself. You've already done that. They are simply asking what new knowledge or what insights can this work contribute to whatever field you're involved in. So the next thing you need to be aware of is you need to condense your work. Not every part of your dissertation belongs in a journal article. You need to identify a main research question or finding, the strongest and most publishable parts, and build your article around that. So if your dissertation explored several related hypotheses, you might develop several articles from each. Many good dissertations can yield 2 or 3 papers if planned carefully. You need to reframe your story. Your dissertation was about satisfying your examiners, but the journal paper is about engaging the readers. How do you make your work sound interesting, make it relevant? Your introduction should quickly show why your study matters and how it adds to what is already known. In terms of structure, you need to be precise and concise with your words. Background should be short. The method section should describe what's necessary for reproducibility, not necessarily every procedural detail. Your results and discussion section should take center stage. That's where your main contribution shines and shows. Most journals have strict word limits, often 3,000 to 5,000 words. So you need to focus on clarity, flow, not exhaustive details. One key thing, one area many of us overlook at the early stage of our career is a self-plagiarism. Even though the dissertation is your own work, you shouldn't copy sections word for word into a journal article. Journals consider this a form of duplicate publication. Instead, you should paraphrase your earlier texts, streamline as much as you can, and cite your dissertation if appropriate. That not only protects you ethically, but it also helps you reframe your work and gives it a fresh professional tone. When I first tried to convert my dissertation into a paper, I remember being shocked at how much had to go. My dissertation was, I think, 105 or 106 pages. Each page felt important. Suddenly, a lot of them became unnecessary. So I dropped 105 pages to just 8 for the first paper I published from my dissertation. But that exercise taught me something valuable about writing for journals or publishing papers. The paper isn't about showing everything you know. It's about communicating a clear message effectively. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. We need to take a step back and think strategically about the dissertation itself, because it's key to your future publications. It's not just an exam requirement, but it should serve as a foundation for your publication journey. So a well-designed dissertation, I've mentioned this before, usually gives you enough data to generate 2 or 3 publishable papers, depending on the scope. So you may present your primary findings, one paper, another may focus on secondary data and analysis. But that will not happen by accident. It begins with how you choose your topic. So a good dissertation topic is not just interesting or feasible, it has to be publishable. So when planning on the title or topic, you ask yourself, can this study generate papers that contribute meaningfully later? Having this mindset early positions you for visibility later. And it saves you from the frustration of finishing your program and realizing your topic does not lend itself to publication. So think of your dissertation as a seed, not the fruits. It should grow into multiple branches of publishable works later. Now we've chosen what to publish. The next challenge is how to write for publication. How do we craft a paper that is clear, credible, compelling to editors? Now, the first rule is you have to write clearly and avoid jargon. Clarity is key. Write as though your reader is intelligent, but not necessarily familiar with your local context or your systems. Avoid unnecessary jargon, abbreviations. We should all know that by now. For mentioning any abbreviation, the full meaning precedes it. And avoid overly complex sentences. The clearer your message, the broader your impact. Remember, you're writing for an international audience, not just colleagues in your department. So a well-written paper needs to cross borders. Most journals actually expect the use of the IMRAD structure. IMRAD is introduction. You're all familiar with this. Introduction, methods, results, and a discussion. Introduction should capture the problem, summarize it, tell us what's known, state your objective clearly. Methods explain how you did it. Results present findings, but without interpretations. Then the discussion interprets the results, links your results to existing literature, and explains their relevance. A strong abstract is very important, and the title and the keywords. These are all important for visibility. A very crude analogy is that your title, abstract, your keywords are like the window to your shop. Okay, they determine whether anybody passing by will decide to enter your shop and price your items. They determine whether someone scrolling or browsing online will decide to click on your paper and read it or scroll past. So the title should be clear and specific, such as abstract should summarize your study clearly and include key terms that will boost discoverability on PubMed, Google Scholar, and so on. In practice, most readers will only just read your title and the abstracts. Most people just, after the abstract, they're usually done and take out what they really, really need. It will take a lot to now make people now decide to read the full article. So you have to make your title attractive and the abstract properly written, because that's where your visibility starts. Keywords are very important and they serve as your paper's digital fingerprints. They help databases and search engines categorize your work correctly, ensuring that people searching for related topics can actually find your study. So you need to choose your keywords carefully. And one important aid is the use of established medical subject headings. That's called mesh terms when possible. Some of you may be familiar with this. So when you type your topic into the mesh browser, it doesn't automatically generate keywords for you, but it shows you the official standardized terms that databases like PubMed will use. So those suggested mesh terms you can now use directly as your keywords. I'll give you a quick example. If you had a paper titled Paracetamol Use in Febrile Children Attending Primary Health Centers in Nigeria, type this into mesh, the mesh browser. It may suggest acetaminophen, which is the official term mesh uses for paracetamol instead of paracetamol. It may give you fever. It can give you child. It can give you preschool, primary healthcare, Nigeria. Then you can choose your keywords from there. Okay? Usually when you're selecting your keywords, you should think about something someone will type into a search bar to research a topic like yours. Okay? The rule of thumb is aim for between 4 to 6 keywords that reflect your setting and core variables. Okay? So keywords are your keywords, your title, and abstract together, they work together like signposts that will guide the right people to your research. Dr. Namani, how am I doing with time, please? How long have I spent?
We are less than 20 minutes in.
Less than 20 minutes. Okay. Okay.
I say in. We have more than 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So we are encouraged to use, of course, we must use credible references. Your paper's strength rests partly on the quality of its references. You need to use recent sources, recent references, especially from index journals and high impact journals, if you can. As a general rule of thumb, most of your references should come from maybe the last 5 to 7 years, unless you're citing a foundational study. So if you're writing on childhood immunization coverage, and you cite a 2023 WHO global report, it carries much more weight than a study that's over 10 years old. Please avoid citing predatory journals or unverified sources. Okay, you can always verify journal credibility through databases such as PubMed, Scopus, Directory of Open Access Journals, and so on. We'll talk about this in more detail as we move. It's important to follow the guidelines of the journal before you start writing. You need to download from their website instructions for authors, clearly written there. Each journal has its unique expectations for formatting, referencing style. Some people want you to use Vancouver. Some people want you to use APA, depending on their choice. Then you have to abide with their word counts and figure limits and so on. If you don't follow the instructions for authors specifically listed by a journal, then you risk rejection before your paper even crosses the secretary's desk. Okay, so the journal's guidelines are like their language. So speak it for them so they appreciate that you respect them. Finally, research ethics are important. We need to uphold integrity and avoid problems like plagiarism or falsification of data. Okay. Peer review is the quality control system for science. It's what keeps literature credible. Before an article appears in any reputable journal, it must pass through scrutiny of experts who examine it for originality, contribution to the field, and academic rigor. There are 3 types of peer review: single blind review. Here, the reviewers know who the authors are, but the authors don't know the reviewers. It's the most common format used in most clinical journals. Then you have the double blind review, in which neither authors nor reviewers know each other. This reduces bias based on names or institutions and so on. And you have the open review, in which both sides know each other's identities. And in some cases, the reviewers' comments are even published alongside the paper. This is becoming more popular for transparency and accountability. Of course, each model has its own strengths. The key takeaway is that peer review isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to refine your work, okay? So the purpose of a peer review is not to discourage you, it's to make sure your work is original and valuable. Responding to reviewers is important because revisions are an inevitable part of the process, and they show how you respond, and how you respond to the comments matters as much as what you even write. You're advised to always maintain a professional and respectful tone. Be calm. Remember, it's not an exam. Even if you disagree with some things, you have to be professional and respectful your tone. Address comments point by point in a separate response letter, okay? And describe exactly what you changed, or if you didn't change anything, explain clearly and politely why. For instance, someone may say something that's outside the scope or the scope of your study, and you just politely explain that. So it's a good mindset to have that your reviewers are collaborators. They're not examiners there to fail you. Okay? Every interaction with your reviewers actually strengthen and improve your paper. So yes, rejection is part of the process. Every successful researcher has a collection of rejection letters somewhere. Okay? A rejection doesn't mean your work lacks virtue or value. It just means that maybe the journal scope or the timing wasn't right. But the good news is I can always use reviewers' feedback to improve your own paper and resubmit elsewhere. Is Aga or was Aga? Forgive my language. We've just discussed how peer review ensures scientific quality, academic rigor, and so on. But before a paper reaches reviewers, journals now conduct a very critical check, integrity screening. And this looks at plagiarism. And increasingly, AI detection tools are now being used. Plagiarism checks usually form the first gatekeeper. The most common tools include Authenticate, Stonitin, Flag Scan, and so on. These systems scan your manuscript and compare it against millions of published papers. They generate a similarity report for you, showing how much of your text overlaps with existing material. And usually a similarity index of between 15 to 20% is acceptable. The one matters most is the nature of the overlap, not necessarily a number. Now, overlapping sections like the methodology or references are okay. That's not a problem. Where the problem arises is when you have duplication in results or discussion, the discussion sections. Okay. So if there's significant plagiarism, even if it's unintentional, they may contact the author for clarification or reject the paper, or even in serious cases, report to the author's institution, and in some cases, blacklist. So the message is simple about plagiarism. Always paraphrase genuinely, cite properly, avoid copy and paste, even your own work. Now we have a new dimension, AI-generated content. Many journals have started using AI spotting tools like GPT-0, Stonitin AI detector, and they complement plagiarism checks. They look for linguistic patterns that suggest that the text was machine generated rather than human written. It's not that these AI tools are banned. They can be used for language editing, grammatical error checking, formatting issues. They can be used for this, but it's not acceptable to use AI to write sections of your paper or generate ideas or fabricate references. And then the Committee on Publication Ethics is very clear on that AI tools cannot be listed as authors. Okay? So if you've used AI tools for minor tasks while writing, for instance, polishing your grammar or for formatting, Some journals now even ask that you disclose this in your acknowledgement section. That's okay. Transparency builds trust, and it shows that you use technology responsibility. You use technology responsibly without compromising authorship and accountability. Okay. Now, integrity in writing doesn't just stop at avoiding plagiarism, also extends to how we give credit to people for the work. Authorship is not just a formality, it's a statement of contribution and accountability. According to the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, ICMJE, to qualify as an author, a person must meet all of the following criteria: to make a substantial contribution to conception, design, data collection, and analysis. It must participate in drafting or critically revising the manuscript and give final approval of the version to be published. It must agree to be accountable for all aspects of the work, ensuring that questions about accuracy or integrity are properly resolved. These are the 4 pillars that protect the process, okay? Now, sometimes people will provide funding or collect data or give technical assistance or type a manuscript. Please, these things don't meet authorship criteria. The most you can do for these kind of contributions is refer to them in the acknowledgement section, okay? In most disciplines, the first author is the main contributor, who did most of the hands-on work, analysis, writing. And the last author is often a senior mentor, a supervisor, so on. Middle authors are also important. They are co-investigators or collaborators who contributed meaningfully, but not to the same extent as the lead author. And all that matters because it signals both contribution and responsibility, okay? It's important as you embark on your writing careers to clarify early before submission the order of authorship rather than start discussing it or negotiating after acceptance, okay? Acknowledgements are where you credit, we mentioned this earlier, acknowledge individuals who helped in ways that do not qualify for authorship. So, once you've established authorship, the next question is, how do we make sure this work is seen, credited, and counted? Authorship gives you recognition within the paper, but the researcher identity gives you recognition across your entire academic career. So you need to register ORCID ID. ORCID ID is your 16-digit number beginning with 4 zeros. It's like your academic fingerprints, and uniquely identifies you and links all your publications in one profile. Think of it as your passport, like your international passport in the research world. In fact, many journals these days require and insist for your ORCID number for submission, okay? So even if your name changes or there are others with similar names, your ORCID ID ensures that every piece of your work goes back to you. And it's very easy to set up and set it up within 5 minutes. Next, we have is Google Scholar. Google Scholar is essentially your public research dashboard, collects all your papers, citations automatically. It's also the first page most people see when they search your name. So keeping it accurate and updated helps control your academic narrative. So in essence, ORCID identifies you. Google Scholar showcases your work, and the citation indices that we have here, H index and I-10 index, they quantify your visibility. And when all these work together, when all these three work together, your research footprint becomes more discoverable than enduring. So let's look a bit more deeply at understanding these research metrics, the H-index and I-10 index. The H-index is simple but very powerful. It combines your productivity with influence. So how do you break it down? If your H-index is 15, it means you've published 15 papers, each of which has been cited at least 15 times. H-index 15 means you have 15 papers, each of which has been cited 15 times. It rewards consistent and sustained contribution. The I-10 index is even simpler. It just counts how many of your papers have at least 10 citations. Okay, it gives you kind of quick snapshot of your long-term visibility. In medicine and natural sciences, citations tend to accumulate faster, unlike what you have in social sciences where citation patterns evolve a bit more slowly. So the goal isn't to pursue numbers, but it's to build meaningful, visible research that grows with your engagement and collaboration. This slide is to give us a broad sense of what citation metrics tend to look like as you progress throughout your career. Remember, I said they are not like official thresholds. They serve more as a guide, okay, and based on patterns seen against across institutions and disciplines. So on the average, okay, a lecturer one, someone in his early stage career, should have an H index between 5 and 10 and an I index between 5 and 15. Remember we said H index, number of papers cited that same number of times. Okay, so H index of 5, again, is you have 5 papers that each has been cited 5 times. If it's an I-10 index of 5, it means 5 papers that have been cited 10 times. So if you look at this critically, using the lower limit of 5, you're generally advised and encouraged to have at least, on the average, 5 papers before you're done with your residency program. I didn't hit this number when I finished residency, that I think I hit around 3 or 4 before I exited. So it's always advisable to, during your program, to get involved in research and publications, because when you enter the labor markets, the job markets, things are competitive. This may be the difference between you and every other person in the crowd. Okay. Now, for a senior lecturer, usually the H index ranges from 10 to 20, I index between 15 and 30. Okay. For full professors, to hit full professorship, H index values range from 20 to 40, I index 30 to 60. Okay. Now we've talked about citation metrics, how they evolve across your academic ranks. Let's do something a bit practical. I hope this is clear. It's a snapshot of my own Google Scholar profile. I'm sharing it not because the numbers are important or to boost. I'm just sharing it because it shows how it works in real life. Okay. So if you look there, my H index since 2020, that's the last 5 years, is 21, meaning I have 21 papers at least with 21 citations. And my I-10 index, that's there, 37, meaning 37 papers at least have been cited 10 times. Okay? You get used to these terms with time. When selecting a journal, this is a very important aspect of this talk. You need to start by checking the intended scope and the audience that will align with your research topic. even a prestigious journal isn't a good fit if your work doesn't match what their readers expect. For instance, forgive me for using an illustration from pediatrics. If you have a paper on neonatal infections, it may not fit well in a general public health journal such as WHO Bulletin, which has very high impact. It will be perfect for a specialized pediatrics journal, like BMC Pediatrics, Pediatric Infectious Disease Journal. Impact factor is also something you should be familiar with or start getting familiar with. It's a measure of how frequently the average article in a journal is cited within a year. It's calculated by Clarivate Analytics. Formerly, we used to call this Thomson Reuters, okay? It's calculated now by Clarivate Analytics through their JCR, Journal Citation Reports. So the impact factor reflects on average how often articles from a journal are cited in a given year. I'll give you a quick example. An impact factor of 5 means that the papers published in that journal over the past 2 years were cited a total of 5 times on average during the current year. It doesn't mean that every paper was cited 5 times, okay? It's looking at the average across all across all articles. So if a journal published 100 papers in 2022 and 2023, 100 papers, and those papers were cited 500 times the next year, that's by 2024, when you're analyzing the metrics. It's simply going to be that 500 citations divided by the number of journals, and that will give you an impact factor of 5. So this is how impact factors are arrived at. In a sense, even an impact factor of 0 is still significant because it tells you that the journal is indexed. Okay, usually this happens when the journal is new or not yet indexed in most major databases, or if it's catering to a very small specialized field with low citation frequency. That is better than not having any impact factor at all. Okay, so impact factor can help identify influential journals, but it shouldn't be the only criterion. You can have smaller journals with lower impact factors but still get to the right audience, okay, and still lead to meaningful citations for your field. So don't chase high impact factors, aim for relevance and readership, okay? Another important consideration is indexing, okay? Whether the journal is indexed in reputable databases, and it means that your paper will be visible and discoverable through these databases. Common bodies include PubMed, Scopus, Web of Science, which is managed by Clarivate Analytics. I told you earlier, this is what I used to call Thomson Reuters. Okay. If a journal claims its index, always check this directly on the database site. Don't take their word for it or assume. Okay. Open access journals versus subscriptions. This is a question I get all the time. Should I publish in an open access journal or a subscription-based journal? Open access journals make your article freely available to anybody online. And this increases visibility and citation potential. However, many of them will charge article processing charge, okay, which may range from a few $100s to several $1,000s. Subscription journals, on the other hand, don't usually charge authors. They restrict access to readers whose institutions they subscribe to. So that means your article might be less visible globally, although it will still reach an academic audience. Increasingly these days, hybrid models exist where authors can pay to make their specific article open access without a subscription journal. And finally, very important warning on this slide, beware of predator journals. These ones claim to be peer-reviewed, but they are just profit-driven operations and accept any paper as long you're willing to pay. They will promise rapid publication or guaranteed acceptance. They use fake editorial boards and mimic names of reputable journals. When I was much younger and inexperienced, I fell into their traps once or twice and paid almost $2,000 before I realized what was going on. It was a very painful but valuable lesson. And to avoid this, always check that the journal is listed in the Directory of Open Access Journals or the Committee on Publication Ethics. Okay, there are very strong signs of legitimacy. There used to be this Bills list, BEALL apostrophe S, Bills list. It used to be very helpful, but it's no longer officially maintained. Okay, because they're not always reliable. You also use the DOAJ and the COPE for verification. How do we find balanced journals? Okay, looking at Pool Text as a resource. It's a growing platform designed to bridge authors and journal editors. So you just upload your manuscript and the editors from thousands of legitimate journals can invite you to submit directly. So the platform focuses on transparency, providing information on their indexing status and so on, and publication fees. Many of these journals are indexed and recognized in databases such as PubMed and Scopus. While not all of these full text journals have high impact factors, they are generally non-predatory and their APCs, article processing charges, are a bit more reasonable than those of the bigger open access publishers. So it makes full text helpful for early career researchers, or if you're working in resource limited environments like ours, okay? When you need ethical and affordable publishing options. However, having said that, always remember that full text is just a starting point. It's not a guarantee. Before submitting, make sure you take a few minutes to verify that the journal is still truly indexed and maintains genuine peer review. There's a Latin dictum that goes, trust, but verify. Okay? Now, presenting at the conferences is a major platform for visibility in your research. They allow you to get early feedback and they build collaborations with others working on similar topics. So think of them as both learning and networking opportunities. Presentations can take different forms. Could be an oral presentation, poster presentations, symposium sessions. Each has its own style, okay? Oral presentations are concise and data-driven. Posters allow more of one-on-one discussions. And the symposia are great for thematic presentations. When crafting your presentation or preparing it, focus on a clear message. What's the objective? What are your key findings? Why it matters? Avoid overwhelming your audience with too much data. And bear in mind that most conference presentations are strictly timed, average being about 7 to 10 minutes. So you rarely have time to explain every table or graph. Your goal is to communicate insights, not to reproduce an entire paper. The rule of thumb, for instance, for a 7-minute talk will be 1 minute for your introduction, 4 minutes for your results and discussion, then 2 minutes to wrap up and summarize. Okay? How am I doing with time? Amani, have you slept off? Okay.
No,
So sorry?
we still have about 10 to 15 minutes more. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. We're almost done. Okay. So for visual designs, simplicity is the norm. Okay. Use slides that are clean, legible, and balanced. Okay. A good visual design quietly reinforces your your credibility. During the Q&A sessions that will come up, anticipate possible questions and respond with confidence. However, if you don't know an answer, it's perfectly okay to say, so. Honesty even earns you respect. And sometimes these questions may guide your next paper or collaboration. And most importantly, after the conference, don't let your efforts end there. Share your slides with colleagues who want them, upload them to your institutional or kid profile if appropriate, and follow up with the people who show interest in your work, because conferences may open doors for you in the future. There is your follow-up that does the main job. So what are key takeaways as we come to the end of this session? Let's recap some main points. First, transitioning from dissertation to publication isn't a mechanical step. It's a strategic process that starts from even the conceptualization of your dissertation. Okay? Secondly, good writing is clear, precise, purposeful. Thirdly, you need to treat peer review as collaboration and not criticism. Your reviewers are partners in strengthening your paper. It's not an exam that will be pass or fail. Then choose your journals wisely. Avoid predatory outlets. When I think of $2,000 I wasted early in my career, it still shocks me till this day. So always avoid predatory journals, no matter how tempting. A single paper in the right place is better, may open better doors, more doors than thousands of papers in the wrong journals. And finally, conferences amplify your visibility, turn your research from something private into something that connects, sparking collaborations, mentoring, and new ideas. So ultimately, dissemination ensures your work has a life beyond your desk. You're entitled to make mistakes. I've told you I've made several myself, but that's how we gain experience. What happens is how we use those lessons to share our work more effectively. And remember, publication is not the end of the research journey. It's just the beginning of its impact. We are no longer pursuing publish or perish mentality. Today, we are all about what? The invisible, so that you don't vanish. I hope the little I've shared today helps make your work not only publishable, but visible and impactful. Thank you so much for listening to me. Dr. Namani can take over now.
Oh, thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much. It was well delivered. First, this is the professional presentation. So you did not disappoint. Thank you.
I hope we are on. We did less than an hour.
We actually kept the time. This is a roughly 15 minutes presentation. Yes, Prof. Thank you so much for that presentation. At least I learned some new things, new terms about research. Papers, those indexes and their metrics. Thank you so much, Prof. So I don't know if anyone has a question. Meanwhile, there is one question in the chat box already. But please, you can drop your question or you can unmute and ask your question. So, but there is one in the chat box that said, what about, person said, thank you, Prof. What about corresponding author? What is the ranking?
Say that again, please.
Okay, I said, the person asked, what about corresponding authors? What is the ranking of corresponding authors?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Thank you very much, whoever asked that question. I didn't expand on that in the talk. Now, some of these rankings are institution-based, okay? in some institutions, they correspond, actually most institutions these days, the corresponding author ranks the same as the first author. And that is where most institutions are heading now. In my institution, Institute University, at the moment, they don't recognize corresponding author, the corresponding author. There's no recognition at all. But the Green Book, I think that's what we call a appraisal book. Our Green Book is being reviewed, and a lot of some of those outdated things are being corrected. So very soon, our new Green Book here is going to give full recognition to the corresponding author. I know for a fact that at UNN, corresponding author ranks the same as a lead author. I don't know if I answered this question properly. Is the person satisfied with my answer?
Yes, I think it's clear. It's
The
very clear, sir.
corresponding author in a standard appraisal system these days is equal to lead author. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification, sir. Does anybody else? Okay, yeah. The person that
Question.
asked the question acknowledged that it was well answered. Yeah.
I have a question. Can I go ahead?
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for that wonderful lecture. I joined late, so I don't know if you actually spoke more on what I want to ask, but I'll still ask. When you said right for impact, what do you actually mean? Is it that from the impact, is it by choosing the right? Does it start from choosing the topic? Or is it when you get to the writing, a particular way of writing your writing up your work? So please, can you throw more light on that writing for impact?
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. It's always nice to know that your audience is listening to you. Where did I say? Let me see if I can find a slide that I said right for impact. Even though it's a term that we've used regularly. I don't know. Is this something I said or you saw it on a slide? Is this something I said or you saw it on a slide? I
You
can't see
said
any slide.
it, and then there's something like that on your slide too, but you mentioned it when you were,
Okay,
yes.
okay, okay. Well, I can't seem to find any slide with it. But when I said right for impact, okay, I think I have an idea where that may have come from. When you're choosing your topic for your dissertation, that is where your journey starts. Just a second. Yes, I think I found a slide that refers to that. So we're mostly here, we're residents, I guess. And your first major step into publication comes from your dissertation, okay? So one way to answer this is write for impact because you want your dissertation to be publishable. So as you're deciding on a topic, you need to ask yourself, can this study generate papers? Because it's when you now start publishing that you will make an impact on the academic community that's reading. And it is from that visibility that your citation metrics will start to increase. Things like the H index and the I-10 index I talked about. So you have to be strategic in your choice of a dissertation. Now, beyond that, you're not going to be writing dissertations for the rest of your life. So if you're now writing an article clearly for publication, de novo, all right, the same questions should be in your mind, okay? Can this paper I'm writing contribute meaningfully to my field so that my colleagues can read it, so that I can generate citations for you and make you visible, okay? So I don't think, were you trying to relate it to impact factor? Or you wanted me to explain what I meant by impact? If it's about making your paper have impact, it is so that it can ultimately become visible and not get locked up in a drawer. If you're relating it to impact factor, they are two different things altogether. Please, if my answer is not adequate, let me know so we can thrash it out further.
Thank you, sir. It's not about impact factor. It's just about you mentioned impact. That's why what I wanted
Yes.
to know what
Yeah.
you meant by impact. Actually,
Impact.
since we started this research training series, this is my first time of joining because this is actually where I'm at. I'm done with I'm a consultant.
Congratulations.
So this is where I'm at because I want to start publishing. So
Okay.
that's why what you mentioned caught my
About
interest.
impact. Oh,
Yes,
yes.
about
So
impact.
now,
Yes,
excellent. So you're beyond dissertation stage. Your dissertation done and dusted. You've probably
yes, sir.
published it, but you're still going to keep publishing. So
Yes, sir.
you need to make sure that your paper has academic rigor that will satisfy the community, the scientific community you're trying to address, because it is the interest your paper generates that will make you visible. If you publish it in an article, if you present it at a conference, and so on and so forth. So it has to be something impactful that will generate interest in it and open more doors for collaboration with you. And thank you for this question, because you've made me remember something I didn't really talk about earlier. No, we can't exhaust everything in a day. Collaboration is key. You cannot keep writing alone without collaboration. You may not go very, very far. So when your papers have impact, it opens the door for collaboration. And you know what I mean by collaboration. Have people that you work together
Yes, sir.
with, share ideas, and work together. Okay. So I hope I've addressed your question. If I haven't, we
Yes,
can
sir.
always talk some more. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, sir.
much. Yes.
Chief, the green book of appraisal you talked about, is this something that one can easily get hold of? Is it
No. If once you become once you get employed as a lecturer in any university, that's the first thing you should ask for. Yes, you need to study
okay?
it thoroughly so that it will guide your publishing
Mm,
content. Have you
okay.
been absorbed into any
Yes, sir.
university? Sorry,
Yes, sir.
you
Yes, sir.
have.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
as quickly as possible, you need to get whatever book they call it in your university. Because right now, I assume you've been employed as a
I'm with
lecturer.
you. I'm with you. Oh. I'm with
With
you. We
me,
had a meeting the other day.
I
Yeah,
know,
I'm in
man. You
Parkland.
know this.
I'm in
Are
Essex,
you
sorry.
serious?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay. Maybe next time you see me, remind me. And everybody's face is hidden. So if you're
The
with us
lady
in
that
Park,
went to the lady that went to road safety office with you. During
oh, interesting.
the
Oh, with Professor Kafo.
Professor Kanko. Yes, sir.
Excellent, excellent. So you need to get the copy of the appraisal book. So it will
Okay.
guide you. For instance, I guess you're a senior lecturer. What are you at now?
No,
What level?
lecturer one.
So in 3 years from your appointment, you'll be due for appraisal and
Yes,
promotion.
sir.
So it is that book that will tell you. qualify for appraisal. Now,
Okay.
for instance, I think you need 24 points to get to senior lecturer. And if you're not aware of this, you may publish 2-3 papers and relax and feel that you're trying. Meanwhile, there's a target for you. And then you need to familiarize with their scoring system, because some public give you 1 point. So that's why you need to get familiar with your appraisal book so that you can plan ahead of time. And the rule of thumb is, as you're going for appraisal as a senior lecturer, you should have enough for even the next step, which is a reader or associate professor. So that by the time you're getting to appraisal for a reader, you should have enough even for full professorship. And we had a slide. Sorry if I'm taking too long. There was a slide. I don't know if you saw this slide. Did you see this slide?
No, sir, I came late because of that CMD's meeting. I was there. I joined late. I didn't see the slide, sir. I joined late.
Sorry? Hello?
I didn't see the slide, sir. I joined late.
So I'm showing you a slide now. Can you see it?
Okay, yes, I can see the slide.
It says typical citation metrics by academic rank. So for instance now, are you on Google Scholar?
No, sir.
So before you sleep today, try and register with Google Scholar so that you can look at your H index and your I-10 index, because at your level, you should have at least maybe an H index of 5 and an I-10 index of around 5. That will show that you're at par with your level. By the time you're going for senior lecturer, you should be aiming at an H index of 10 and an I-10 index of 15, okay?
Yes, sir.
Since we're in the same place, you can always meet me later for further explanations. Okay?
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Prof, for the further clarifications. I don't know if any other person has a question. I have a few seconds for that. So, Prof, we want to say thank you for this presentation, for
You're,
not canceling
you're
our meeting because of another meeting. Thank you for honoring this invitation to teach us. We truly appreciate it. And on behalf of the leadership of the ARD, Institute Parkling, and the academic committee, we want to say thank you. We truly appreciate your presence here and what you have taught us. Thank you so much, Prof.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, and
Thank you,
so thank
everybody.
you. I want to thank all the participants that showed interest and joined to learn with us today. I saw one Prof. Umeoka for. So, Prof, thank you for joining us in this meeting.
Oh, that's
And
my
then,
boss. So if he's here, Professor
okay,
Moka,
wow.
that is my, that's our CMD. CMD, we greet you, so.
Okay,
God,
well, I wanted not to really make comment because I joined very late. But well,
please
since I
comment,
just
though.
encourage the residents is a very
Yes, sir.
great and good one. So many of us never had this opportunity, and it's
Exactly.
unfortunate that very few people attended this program. People pay for these issues with writing, manuscript, grants, and things like that, pay heavily. And people have the opportunity and they don't. One of the biggest challenges we have is people pass their part one, they'll not start thinking about dissertation. It's when they pass part one, even to get a topic becomes an issue. So it's
Yes,
a
sir.
great one, and I want to encourage all the residents. And my girl that asked questions, well, if you are not
Yes, sir.
self-publishing, then that's a problem. I mean, Mary Ann, but she has to. Ogami, thanks. I
Yes.
don't have any doubt that you must have sliced it. And for the information of the residents, Professor Ndi is somebody to behold. Currently have much more than 100 publications. And I'm sure his citation may be hitting to 2,000 to 3,000. So he's a great person that you could have chosen, and we should look up to him. Currently, I'm sure you know he's the chairman of the ethical committee of the hospital and of the college. So Ogami, thanks a lot. I was around today, but you weren't there.
Okay. Oh, you mean the meeting with CMD?
And I know you're not staff again now, so I know.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, sir.
I came to the office. I was in the
I
office.
was there earlier on, then I went for the meeting, then rushed out for this. Thank you so much for gracing this meeting for us. We're honored to have you here, sir.
It's a pleasure, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So thank you so much, Prof.